starting this thing, but it's been sitting all year. But you never know. And the funny part is you forget how to drive these things in the off season. Hang on, I think.
Yeah.
Wait, we're in business, baby, let's go. Welcome back to another day in the life. So it's around 1 o'clock, our morning meetings are done, the deep work is done, and we're into operations mode, which means we're at the yard, we're getting our machine serviced by Cat, right? We're moving trucks around, we're in it, we're in the work. So today we're gonna go visit some clients and do some site visits for our winter operations. We're gonna check out a few sites for our summer operations and do some last minute quoting before the end of the season. We wanna bring on some new projects. We have a couple of meetings with suppliers and a couple interesting phone calls that I think you guys might find interesting, and anything else that the day is going to bring now that we're fully in the doing. We're in the operating hours of the day, which for me is between noon, 1 o'clock, and around 6 and 7. So we'll see what the day brings, and let's bring you along. So we're at the yard, this is our Kenworth. Let me tell you a little bit about what I like about this truck. This is like one of our main salt rigs. It's nice and short, right? This thing will outturn a regular pickup truck. It's got tons of fuel, so you know that's kind of something you don't necessarily look at, but how many times does your operator have to stop during the night to refuel, right? This thing has got 2 fuel tanks, less stops, right? More efficiency during the storm hours. We already had the salter on, so when I bought this truck, everything was already in one package. So this is a Swenson. It's not a hydraulic salter, it's an electric one, but it's still fantastic. It's got a really wide chain, if you notice. A lot of our salters are more narrow. So this is super wide, so you know, it can handle some of the coarser and rougher salt that you might want to put into it. Like sometimes in the winter it gets clumpy. This thing handles it no problem. It's got a fantastic spread. Really smooth, comfortable ride, right? It's still a G license, so you don't need any special license to drive this. Any of our operators can drive this truck, which is also super cool. This thing just sits on the bed, so this will sit like this all summer long. You know, it's September now, so this thing's been sitting like this all summer. And it started in one shot, right? Why? Because these trucks, when they sit, they don't break down like some of our other equipment, which is the other thing that I really like about it. The other thing is this. If we open it up, it just tilts like this. The entire engine is revealed, so servicing it is also super easy. One of my favorite features is the visibility, and specifically the height. So, you know, the higher you are from the ground, the more that you can actually see in front of you, right? And it also has a really short hood. So I find the visibility in this truck for any kind of operator is fantastic, you know, regardless of how tall you are, which also is really important. We also put a backup camera on this thing, so any of our trucks where we don't have a rear window or where it's actually blocked, we like to put a rear view camera, and every single time. It does get dirty throughout the winter time, but it's really, really important to have. So driver comfort, like I said, visibility, and how it's set up for long hauling, right? Like this truck is generally meant to haul and you know, be kind of like a highway truck. So it's meant for an operator to be inside here for long hours, which is traditionally what happens with us as well. So whenever we're buying a truck, and specifically with this one, I'm looking at what is it like for the operator to be running in it for a long time? You know, what is the function for the specific use that we have? In this case, it's snow, so I'm looking at visibility and turn radius. And what is the typical scenario that I'm gonna have when I'm using this truck, which is one long shift and then a break where I can just service it and do what I need to do. So having the fuel tanks here and having it operate for a long period of time without issues is great. And this engine, we can run this thing for the next 10 hours and it won't have a problem. It's meant to idle. So these are a couple things you want to look out for when you're fitting a truck to your specific use. I absolutely love this thing. You want to know what's cool? This thing doesn't have an actual gear shift. The first time I got in here, I was like, how do I actually like move it? Right? Like, how does it work? So it just has a neutral, right? Reverse and drive. So when you're in neutral, just take the e-brake off, right? Now you put it in drive and it goes. You put it in reverse, it goes. You put it back into neutral. So it doesn't actually have a shifter, which I thought was really interesting, but it really does help when you're loaded. So I guess that's how these things are made, but I kind of found that interesting. Let's roll. All right, we just finished a walkthrough with a brand new client we're about to onboard. There's the sign that helped us land it, and the client is here. This building that we're standing in right now is our existing customer. So why do we put a sign here? Because we're currently servicing this block. And these guys ended up calling us, and once we did a walkthrough, we were able to tell them that we do this building here, there's another customer, and there's a lot of synergies. This is a strategy that we talked about in the previous video, the 5 strategies that we use to onboard brand new clients and get new leads, specifically in the commercial space. So there's strategy number 1 and strategy number 2, and we just did a walkthrough, and we're gonna onboard these guys probably next week. So it worked out pretty well. On site touring one of our largest new facilities. Now this is a 24/7 trucking yard. It's actually 5 different trucking companies that are sharing the yard. So this creates a lot of different complexities because they all operate at different hours, and generally they're all 24-hour operations. So when we go ahead and quote something like this, when we're pricing something like this, we'll generally have a base price, and that's just a square footage of the lot times our production rate. So how long is it going to take us to do the property with a specific piece of equipment? So I'll go ahead and first determine what is the largest piece of equipment that I can use on a site like this. Now this site is over 1.5 million square feet. So we'll determine how wide are the drive lanes, what's the largest piece of equipment we can use on site. How long is it going to take us to clear the lot with that piece of equipment? Do we need 1, do we need 2, etc.? And then we'll go into our square footage calculator and we'll figure out the pricing. That's our base standard price. From there, there's roughly 30 different factors that I would consider that increase and decrease the price by a certain percentage. You know, certain things like operating hours, it means we're gonna have to be here more often. You know, how many times is the operator gonna have to be on site to wait for these guys to move their trucks back and forth? Who are the companies, right? Are they really, really high profile, so they're very, very picky? What kind of traffic is coming in and out? How is the condition of the pavement, etc. I'll factor all of these things in, and then we'll add or decrease the pricing based on these factors. One of the things that, for example, will decrease the pricing here is the fact that it's a dedicated site, so equipment can sit on site, we don't have any drive time, right? And we can also use it as a hub. We have an indoor storage tree that we can use as well. So these are all things that are a benefit to us. So the way we kind of approach pricing sites that are of this size, first of all, we take it one chunk at a time. And if it's large enough or there's multiple pieces needed, again, we'll determine the calculation for that. But we go square footage, and then we add or subtract based on all these different complexities. And again, for us, it's 30 different factors, but really there's only your base few that you want to look at, with the main function of time. Is this going to save you time, or is this going to make the process take longer? Rougher pavement, okay, it's gonna take longer. All right, more trucks coming in and out, it's gonna take longer. If it's 24 hours, it's gonna take longer, right? And vice versa. What's gonna make this thing go faster? So that's how we're approaching this. We're just doing our final tour here just to get all of the last minute details. And again, with sites like this, I highly recommend like an in-person tour, right? Because you don't see everything online on satellite. So we'll combine both. We have a satellite map that we're using We're marking all of the different locations, and we want to do an in-person visit, and we'll price these guys and onboard them next week. So how did we get the call to actually be here and quote this place? If you remember in the last video, there was a phone call that I got from a competitor, and we wanted to partner on some properties in the area. And then they called us, and now we're here, and now we're working on onboarding the site. Also, there's a few different companies that are in this yard, right? So whenever there's multiple companies on one property, you're generally not dealing with one specific owner. You're dealing with a property management company, or there's a partnership component there. So the larger the site, the more different parties that are involved, the more it's a relationship type of a situation that's going to get you that deal. Okay, similar to the property we just saw, that's a direct owner, right? You're dealing with one person, one decision maker. Here, there's multiple decision makers, there's multiple parties involved, and that's where partnering, right, and having those relationships with competitors in your marketplace really helps. We're local, we're here, this is right by our yard, so it makes a lot more sense for us to take over and really offer that higher level of service that this type of 24/7 client expects. And this is a very difficult type of client as well to service. So this is why that partnership made a lot of sense. With larger, more complex commercial clients like this, we found a 5-step quoting process to be most effective. Right now we're on the property doing step number 2. So first, we meet with the client just to do an initial inspection, walk around, get some initial details on the site, ask some initial preliminary questions, right? Then step 2, we come out ourselves, which is what we're doing right now, and we're taking a more detailed look. We're not going to spend hours here with the client inspecting every little thing, and we want to have a little bit more of a candid conversation between our internal team that the client is not necessarily going to be privy to. So we want to have that process be step number 2. We get a detailed plan in place. Step number 3, we put a site map together, and we get more details on paper. We measure out the property, and we're going to do that next with all the details that we inspected here. Step number 4, create the proposal, send it to the client, include all the details and all the notes during our initial walkthrough and inspection, and everything that we found out subsequently afterwards. And then maybe we can present them a list of questions at this point in time. Step number 5, we will review the proposal with the client, make sure we schedule a time to review the proposal with them either on site or on the phone or on Zoom or however we want to communicate. And we review that proposal, and then if needed, we can trigger step number 6, which is a requote. But if there's no additional questions, we've gotten everything, that's all 5 steps. The client now has the proposal and they can make a decision. It's 8 o'clock, we're back in the office, and this is normally the time of day where I like to just slow down, take inventory of everything that's happened throughout the day, and understand what action items I need to take based on that to have a better day tomorrow. And it's a great opportunity to just brain dump when you're not running around, you're not in meetings, and you can really just slow down and understand what's happened and how you can use today as an action plan to have a better tomorrow. I do this no matter what time of day and how late it is. It's just way better than having a cluttered and rushed day tomorrow. So again, thanks for watching. We did reference a few things in this video from a previous video that you can check it out here. And just subscribe and follow along if you want to see more behind the scenes of a day in the life or sales or marketing, all the different things that we talk about on the channel. We'll see you on the next one.